Hello and welcome to episode 5 of the Caged In podcast where me, your host, Petros, will be watching every single Nicolas Cage film, if you haven't guessed by now. Nicolas Cage won't be the only actor to do, it's just for season 1, already got ideas for season 2, but that's a long way off yet, guys, so I'm not going to go into that before we get into this week's episode, which will be the 1984 film Birdy. Just got to do a little bit of housekeeping, a little bit of admin. Keep up to date, guys, with the podcast on the social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, at CagedInPod. You can email me, cagedinpod@gmail.com. Rate, review, and subscribe on iTunes. That would be great at the moment. Not got enough reviews to have an average score. Not looking good. It'd be amazing. 5-star ratings and little reviews. Say what you think about the podcast. That'd be amazing, guys. Like, I'm not trying to top any charts. I'd like to be featured a little. That'd be pretty cool. But we'll get there one day, maybe. Other things I want to mention is the DVD amnesty. Nicolas Cage DVD amnesty, guys. So far, I've bought 43 Nicolas Cage films on DVD. I've got a whole shelf dedicated to it. I've posted a couple of photos recently showing the DVDs I've got. I got paid today, so I'm probably going to go on eBay and buy a shitload more, because I'm a fucking idiot. So with the amnesty, any DVD, unwanted Nicolas Cage DVDs you've got, if you want to donate them to me for free, that would be amazing. Email me at cagedinpod@gmail.com. Sorry, confused myself there by saying at. And obviously at is in an email address anyway. Or obviously Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Y'all know the deal. Another couple of things I've got going on is on my SoundCloud page, which search the Caged In podcast on SoundCloud, and you'll be able to find a cappella version of the theme song, which premiered on episode 4 for the Cotton Club. So they were the a cappella. I'm asking people just for a bit of fun if they want to remix or re-edit the intro in any way. The stupider the better, really. I've recorded a little one, just me and a ukulele. I've recorded a couple of others as well, a couple of stupid ones that probably will drop in now and then. I'd just like to have a variety, really, of different theme songs and stuff like that. Just to mix it up, keep it fun, keep it interesting. Probably keep the same lyrics. I don't know, maybe the more insane I go, the more insane the theme songs may become. May just become me wailing the lyrics to it, or just like me crying through trying to get through the song that is the theme song to this podcast. Before we get into it, I want to give a massive shout out to those Movie Guys podcast who, they seem to really be digging it. It's like two American guys. Just, it's amazing for me to think that people on the other side of the world are listening to this stupid idea I've got, let alone like it. And they had some really nice words to say, and check those guys out on iTunes and Stitcher. I'm trying to get them on Acast. A little bit of a selfish thing because I haven't got an iPhone. I know, how uncool of me. I don't want to have too many apps on. I use Acast. Like, Acast's got loads of really cool content. I'm not sponsored by Acast, so I'm not going to give them a little advert, even though if Acast do want to sponsor me, that would be great. Yeah, so let's roll on with the theme music, and after that we'll get into the ridiculous nature of Nicolas Cage. Feels like I've been awake for days, watching films starring Nicolas Cage. Could be shit or it could be fun. Valley Girl, Face Off, An Army of One, Deadfall, Cornell, Lord of War, The Wicker Man, Trespass, and so many more. Know how it starts, I don't know how it ends. The first 10 are solo, then it's me and some friends. No distractions, no expectations. Over the weeks, hear my frustrations. I guess the podcast is about to begin. I'm your host, Petros Syllabus, and I'm caged in. So guys, let's get down to business. Let's roll on with this ting. I know little information about this film. All I know is it's called Birdy. It was released in 1984, starring Matthew Modine as the titular character, and it's got our main man Nicolas Cage as the character Al. The soundtrack was done by Peter Gabriel. You know him, he did this song. I wanna be sledgehammer. And it's directed by Alan Parker. I had a little bit of a Wikipedia of Alan Parker. He's got an eclectic range of films in his back catalogue. We've got Angela's Ashes, Fame, Bugsy Malone, Evita, Pink Floyd's The Wall, The Commitments, Midnight Express, and Angel Heart. I'm pretty sure Angel Heart's pretty nuts. I think it's Robert De Niro plays a character called Louis Cypher. I think you guys can figure out who he's actually meant to be. So yeah, those of you who don't know, haven't listened before, I'll follow a few rules, and those rules are no distractions, no expectations. So what does that mean? That means I'm not going to look at my phone. It's a really hot day. It's a really nice day here in sunny old Brighton, and I'm sat in the dark to watch this film. Not just for me, guys. I'm doing this for you. I'm doing this for your enjoyment. Yeah, it's not really for my enjoyment. Like, I'd much prefer to be out sinking a couple of cold ones. But I said I was going to do this. I'm going to do this all in the name of entertainment and science or something like that. Where was I? So no distractions. Nothing. I turn my phone on airplane mode every time I watch a film. I feel really bad. My girlfriend is currently ill, and I feel like she's gone out to sit in the park. I feel slightly guilty. I feel like she's doing that because of me, because I said I wanted to record this podcast. Probably should be looking after her. I'm a fucking terrible person. That's something I need to come to terms with on my own time and not on your time. That's for a totally different podcast. And yeah, no expectations. So what do I mean by that is, if I've never seen the film, I'm not going to read up about it. I'm not going to look at anything. Like this film, I know very little about. All I know is Siskel and Ebert gave it 2 thumbs up. I only know that because I edited a little poster for the promo of this episode, and I'll use it for the iTunes and Acast little thumbnail. And that's a quote on the poster. Obviously I know that Matthew Modine and Nicolas Cage are in it because I saw their faces on the poster, and I know Alan Parker directed it because it comes up when you Google that. It comes up right at the top. I purposely didn't read any of the synopsis or anything like that. I haven't looked at any reviews. Obviously, Siskel and Ebert, yep. That is a review of some sort, but I don't know what this film is about. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what to expect, and I enjoy that aspect of this because I don't know what to expect of my mental state or anything like that. I don't know what to expect from Nicolas Cage going through this whole ordeal. So in that regards, I like that I put that in place. And another rule I have is the first 10 episodes of this podcast are solo. So by that, it's me. It's just a little old me going through hell on my own. I often find it quite hard to just talk on my own. It's quite unnatural. Imagine a lot of you can probably relate to that, but I don't know. I feel like I'm getting better. Obviously, if you feel like I'm doing otherwise, tweet me, Facebook me, Instagram me at CagedInPod. And after that, I'll be getting guests in. I've had a chat with a few different people. They're up for it. Chatted to a few different other podcasts. They're up for it. I've done some blue sky thinking and tried to reach out to some people who I don't know, who have some notoriety in what they do. I got politely declined by one of them, a certain soon fast becoming a podcast legend, Scroobius Pip. Really nice of him to email me back and say didn't have the time to do it. Hopefully, if I politely pester him, maybe in the future I could try and get him on. Don't hold your breath though, guys. Last week did cinema snacks. This week I ain't having cinema snacks because I'm holding out for dinner, because that's the kind of guy I am. Don't want to ruin the dinner. I don't know, got some roses here on the table, or a couple of dime bars or dame bars. I don't know what to call them. When I was a kid, they're called dime bars. They had a name change. I've always called them dime. I haven't really adjusted to the change. Maybe that says more about me than anything. So yeah, sorry guys, no cinema snack. Not that you probably care. So I'm gonna watch the film now. I'm gonna kick my feet back, gonna turn my phone off, and get raging with Cage. Welcome back, guys. So I actually watched this film on Friday. I'm recording this part now on Monday. It's the Caged In podcast first. I've let the film sink in a few days. It's time constraints. Didn't really have time to record it, but I feel like it was a good thing that I left it a few days, because it's a bit of an odd one. It's a post-Vietnam set drama. It's thematically all over the place, and we'll get into a lot of that as the podcast goes on. It kind of has two timelines, so we kind of have this pre-Vietnam and a post-Vietnam timeline, and it kind of cuts back and forth. I'll let you guys know when that's kind of happening as I do a rundown of the film. We'll do the rundown, and then we'll talk more in detail about Cage's performance and get some little quotes in there from the film, get some clips. Yeah, we'll see how we've got a lot of fun stuff to talk about in this one. So the film starts off inside a hospital, and we see Matthew Modine, who's playing the titular character Birdy, just sat in his room, and then it cuts to someone being wheeled down a hallway on a gurney, like a hospital bed. Turns out to be our main man, Nicolas Cage. He's beaten up. He kind of has this, gets bandaged up and looks like the Phantom of the Opera. Looks pretty creepy. And then, we see him on a train going somewhere. We don't really know where. He's has some creepy interaction with a little kid. And then it kind of cuts back. So, yeah, this is the first time we get a look pre-Vietnam. And we have Cage playing baseball with looks like a load of 8-year-olds, and he looks about 30 at this point. So, yeah, I'm not sure about the cut, like how old he's supposed to be. You don't really get to know a lot and stuff like that, like the age of the characters. So it's another weird, it's kind of a running 80s theme. You don't really know how old anyone is. Then we see the first of many scenes of Nicolas Cage titting a girl up. The first time this happens is under bleachers. Real standard fare in like high school movies and stuff like that. This is proper hitting it on the nail. And his brother comes up to him and says that someone's stolen his knife. That turns out to be Birdy. They have a bit of a scuffle over the knife. Turns out that the knife wasn't stolen by Birdy, but he bought it off someone who had stolen it. This is where we get the inception of their relationship as friends. Birdy carries around a pigeon in a cage, and Cage asks him about it, and he says he's going to turn them into carrier pigeons. So he says to him, "Hey, how about I help you out, and we'll start catching pigeons together." Then we get this montage, kind of like it's kind of a romantic montage of them two hanging out, hunting down pigeons. Like, looks like points they're gonna kiss. Like, I don't know, it's kind of this bromance, and it's topped off at the end with a scene where Birdy shows Cage, his character's name is Al, shows him a suit he's been making that looks like a pigeon, and I couldn't help but laugh when I saw this because it looked like a shit superhero costume. The two of them then take the suits, wear them, and try and catch pigeons at a construction site. Things go south when Birdy falls off of the top of the construction site and is hanging off the edge, and Cage is losing his shit. He's like, fuck. He's worried that Birdy's gonna fall. This is the first time that you see Birdy is not hinged. He is unhinged, guys. He decides to just jump off of the construction site and lands on a sand mound. Again, Cage losing his shit, runs down after him, kind of hugs him. It looks quite a tender moment. Again, I thought they were going to kiss. Like, I wasn't sure at this point if kind of that was going to be one of the reveals in the film. Turns out the reveal is a lot weirder. Then the next scene we get is back in the hospital post-Vietnam. Birdy's in his cell. Cage turns up, so this is where he was going on the train journey. He speaks to the doctor. He's kind of introduced, he's there to find out if Birdy is compos mentis, really, if he understands what is going on. Because after the war, he just went rogue, disappeared for like a month, and then when he's come back, he's just sat in his room, kind of scrunched up, holding his knees, not saying anything, not doing anything, almost bird-like. And then it cuts back. We're back pre-Vietnam, and Birdy is in hospital, but this time after the aftermath of when he fell off the construction site. And then we see Birdy and Al having a chat, and we find out that all the pigeons they had collected had been destroyed and killed by Birdy's mum because she was concerned about what he's doing. Obviously, she can see that he's unhinged. We can see that he's unhinged. Cage is loving it. He's still hanging out. He finds it hilarious. We see a scene as well of Cage reading out and laughing about Birdy jumping off of the construction site. Then we just get more stuff of their friendship developing. They go to a junkyard and buy a car that they intend to fix up, which they do, and there's a conversation about the beach, and Birdy says, "I've never seen the sea." The scene is them sat in the car pretending to drive, and then he's like, "Oh, where would you go?" And he's like, "I'd go to the beach." And then Birdy reveals, "Yeah, I've never been to the beach." So they go. Cage's idea is he wants to go there, check out the fine honeys in their swimsuits. Birdy has totally different ideas. And then we cut to Birdy holding his breath as long as he can. Cage getting pissed off. He wants to be checking out the girls. It's getting late. He wants to go to the fun fair. Cut to the fun fair. Cage is riding the roller coaster, girl on each arm, like a true player. And Birdy is stood in the carriage behind them with his arms in the air like he's trying to fly. Again, unhinged, guys. Now we get Cage Perv Watch episode 2. Here he is, titting up, and, well, he's shagging a girl underneath the pier, whilst Birdy has possibly the most awkward conversation I've ever seen with a girl. It kind of portrays the fact that he has no real interest or doesn't really know how to speak to women. The girl gets weirded out, pulls her friend off of Cage and says, "We're out of here. I'm done with this creep." Cage ain't happy. He ain't busted a nut, so he ain't happy. And then we get a speech which, from my notes, I've just entitled Tits Speech, which I think may be included in the Cage quotes this week. So we'll go into a lot more detail about that scene later on in the podcast. After this speech, they're approached by a police officer who asks them about the car. They say, "Yeah, it's theirs." They're fucking arrested. They're bailed out of prison by Cage's dad in the film. Cage gives to which Cage's dad gives him a smack in the face. Rightly so. The kid's not old enough to drive. He's technically stolen a car that's in his dad's name. But it kind of gives you an insight into the relationship that he has with his dad. He's scared of his dad. He won't stand up to his dad at all. And then we're flash forward to post-Vietnam in the hospital. Cage is inside of Birdy's cell trying to talk to him and says to him that you are finally a bird. And that's like a really quick scene. A lot of these scenes that are set like post-Vietnam are quite quick, and you don't really get like it's kind of setting up things that are coming, and obviously showing you, giving you that real juxtaposition to how they are before the war and how they are afterwards. Next, we have a scene of Birdy going to what looks like an old folks' home, but turns out to be where he buys a yellow canary, and then talks to Al about what happened to the car and finds out that his dad had sold the car. So he goes round there and confronts him. Real out of character from what you know of Birdy so far. He's kind of awkward and doesn't really know how to hold himself, but this is a real 360, no, because that's exactly the same. It's a 180 in how he's been perceived so far. He's yelling at his dad. He's saying, if you can't get the car back, you tell me who you sold it to and I'll go round there. I can't quite remember if it's voiceover or it's said in the film, but Cage's character kind of is really surprised, and he's like, I could have never have stood up to my dad like that. He kind of really respects Birdy for doing so. It then cuts back to Cage inside of Birdy's cell, and the door is locked, and he loses his shit. Literally loses his shit that he can't get out. What happens? They just let him out. Yeah, he's flying off the handle left, right and centre in this. And next we see him having a nightmare about the war, kind of getting insight into what might have happened to him. And he then has an interview again with the head doctor at the institute, where it seems like he's under question about his mental stability, where he's questioned about a fight he had in Saigon, and he has problems with authority figures and stuff of that nature. Yeah, and then he's back the next day to meet Birdy again. He keeps trying to get him out of his funk. Like, the guy is going apeshit. Like, he's just kind of sitting about his cell. Like, you see a scene of him, like, naked, hunched up on top of the bed frame, looking weird as shit. Then another flashback. It keeps flashing back and forth. This time you see Birdy talking about birds at school. He kind of has this cool model that he's made that is flying about the room as he's speaking to everyone, and we see a female classmate kind of interested, thinking like, I don't know what she's thinking. But Al says to him, hey, I think that girl's interested in you. Like, maybe you should make a move. But you can definitely see that Birdy, he's just not interested. Like, he's got other things on his mind. He is literally obsessed with birds. Birdy then goes and talks to his dad, who happens to be the janitor of the school he goes to. Very convenient. About getting a male canary, because the canary he had got before was female and he would like to breed them. I thought at some points in this film he might want to breed with them. I've got a note here from a moment earlier in the film when he goes to buy the first canary. Does he want to fuck birds? I think he does, but that might be my weird reading of the film. I don't know, there's some stuff coming up that may lead us to believe that is the case. So yeah, he gets his male canary, and his obsession with birds continues. Him and Al have a workout. Al's kind of doing your classic pumping iron. Birdy, on the other hand, is laying like on his stomach on a bench, pretending to fly. He's flapping his arms like they're wings, and we see this is all leading up to a flying device he's made, like winged device he's made, that they attach to the back of a bike at the junkyard. And yeah, Cage rides his bike as fast as he can with Birdy on the back. Birdy comes off, flies. He does fly on this device. I didn't fucking believe it. I don't think that would happen, but he does. But he lands straight in a junkyard puddle. It's fucking gross. Now we're back in the hospital, and Cage thinks that Birdy smiles. This is like the whole point he's there. He's trying to convince the doctors that Birdy is sane. And the doctor just doesn't believe him. He thinks, no, it's not a reaction. A smile is not a reaction. It could be anything. It's not a reaction to a joke. And then Cage convinces the doctor that one of the things that might get him out of it is that Birdy feels guilty about his mum taking all the baseballs that the kids used to hit into their backyard when they were kids. And then he goes around the hospital and sees all the patients, sees people missing limbs, all of that type of stuff. And you see regret in his eyes, that he regrets the war. Like, he shouldn't have been there. This is kind of a theme that I gathered from the film, is I'll get into the theme after I've done a rundown of the film. Then we get another scene, like pre-Vietnam, of like one of the weirder moments of the film of them helping a dog catcher. He's like some big fat guy, like cartoon looking. He's got one of those. He's got a massive net trying to catch dogs. They catch a load of them, and then they're driving down the road, and some guys like shouting at them, saying, "Yo, you got my dog in the back of your car. What are you doing?" And they eventually arrive at some weird like abattoir. There's like dead horses and looks like skinned dogs and stuff like that. And they ain't into it. I weren't into it watching it. I was like, what the fuck is this? Yeah, and they let the dogs go free. Good on them. Don't know skinned dogs. Some barbaric shit. And then we see a cat sneaks into Birdy's house and gets one of his canaries in its mouth, and you think it's dead. A Birdy gives it mouth to mouth, which is pretty weird, but the bird lives. Next, all I've got in my notes is Cage loses his shit. This happens a lot. There's a video on YouTube that's just called Cage Loses His Shit, so it's not unlike the guy, but he runs off out of the cell and the nurse follows him. They have a weird moment where he tries to kiss her and goes straight for her tits. Again, it's the third time in the film we've seen Cage titting someone up. Like, something wrong with the guy. Leave him alone. Then we get to possibly one of the weirdest moments in the film. I've got written in my notes here, does Birdy want to fuck birds? He has this dream about birds, and I'm pretty sure he comes his pants. He has a wet dream over birds. It's fucking weird. He wakes up in the morning and the birds are having chicks. They hatch. Yeah, it's strange. It's real fucking strange. Birdy's forced to go to the prom because his parents are like, you need to do something normal. He looks awkward as shit at the prom. He doesn't look interested in his date at all. Funny enough, the band are playing Rockin' Robin, and after the prom, it's probably one of the most awkward moments I've seen. Birdy sat in a car with his date, and she says, "You've been really nice to me. I know you probably didn't want to, but you can have your way with me." And then I wouldn't say tits her up, because all he does is literally, it's like he's weighing her boobs. He just literally wobbles them about in his hands for a moment or so. And then they go. Like, it's another moment where you see he's just not into that stuff. He's more into this type of thing. He goes home, gets naked in his bird coop, kisses one of the birds, falls asleep, and has a dream, which I guess is him thinking he's flying. It's the camera zooming about like the neighbourhood and stuff like that. Just looks like a guy running with a camera, up until the point where it kind of soars up into the sky like a crane shot. Yeah, it's it's fucking weird. Then we get to see like a flashback of Cage and Nam. We see actually what happened to his face, and yeah, it's fucking brutal, man. It's real brutal. Like as I said earlier, this film is thematically all over the place. You have this kind of light-hearted coming-of-age stuff with them like looking for pigeons, and obviously this moment with the dog catcher, them building a car and stuff like that. But then you have moments like this. Obviously, it's almost reminiscent of something like Full Metal Jacket or Platoon, something a bit more hard hitting than what we see in these flashbacks. Obviously, it's probably an intentional thing by the director to just see the juxtaposition of boys going to war. Cage has a moment inside of the hospital where he's kind of starts cracking up and starts to think that obviously he might get locked up as well. He might be insane. The next moment is a few things cut together in quite quick succession of pre-Vietnam with Cage. The next morning, Cage finds Birdy naked in his cell. They have a chat where Birdy believes that he flew in his dreams and Cage's had enough. He's like, you need to quit all this shit. You need to quit all this bird stuff. And with that, you have stuff in the hospital where Cage is told that that's it. He's had enough chances. The baseballs arrive and it just doesn't bring anything back out of him. It's just not going to work. And also cut with that is a scene of Birdy seeing Cage walk off the war, and one of his canaries follows him and then flies back and smashes through the window, and Birdy is distraught. We then see a scene that you hadn't seen before of Birdy in Vietnam himself and what actually happened to him. And he was in a helicopter crash and he just screams for ages. Then we come to like the finale of the film, really, where Birdy actually talks for the first time, but won't do it in front of anyone else apart from Cage. And he tries to show the doctor, and he just won't do it. And obviously the doctor won't believe Cage. He thinks he's gone insane as well. And he has a breakdown. He holds Birdy. He says he's not going to leave. He's come to terms with the idea that the war has changed him, and he can't face the outside world of what's happened to his face. Obviously, the war has changed them both, which I feel is a part of what this film was trying to talk about. But the ending of it really left me confused. So I kind of left it a few days because I don't know, this one compared to the others were all pretty straightforward. This one's a real mindfuck. Like, I'd recommend watching it just out of the idea of just seeing what it's about, seeing what you guys. If you watch this, like, please get in touch with me on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram, or email me, because I'd really like to hear what you guys have to say about it. But yeah, when it comes to the ending, all of a sudden it's like an action film. Cage is rumbling with the guards there. He's like fighting people off. Him and Birdy try and make a run for it. They make their way to the roof. Birdy looks like he's going to jump off. You think he's going to be really sad. You think he's killed himself. He hasn't. He's just jumped off of a bigger roof onto a smaller roof. Cage runs up and says, "Oh, Birdy," or something like that. To which Birdy replies, "What?" And it's just such a light-hearted ending for something which, like, has been an emotional roller coaster to some degree. As I said, it's thematically all over the place. Like, I spoke to people about this film. They said, "Yeah, I really like it. It's really good." I can't come to grip with it. I couldn't find out what the film was trying to tell me. Like, I thought about it and thought maybe, like, the idea of it was that you can't send boys to war, or that war will change people. But Birdy already had that in him. He looked mentally unhinged. Obviously, that might be another angle in which it's trying to say that the testing for people, they didn't really like conscribing people to the army or whatever, just doesn't work. There wasn't the things in place to make sure that mentally unwell people weren't sent to war. Obviously, we see a lot of the stuff in regards to what war does to people, in the way that it's left both Birdy and Cage jaded, in that they don't want to face the real world anymore. So yeah, guys, this one's been a tough one. Like, I'd say this is probably the first time so far it's had me doubting this whole thing. Like, I'm feeling like shit. We're 5 in. We've got however many to go. Like, I'm just hoping it's gonna get better. Let's get on to a little feature I like to call Cage Quotes. For those of you who don't know, Cage Quotes is just quotes from the film that stood out to me as either funny or fucking mental. So let's go in with the first one. This is a scene I mentioned in the rundown of the film, which is what I am going to call the titty speech. Let's roll it.
Don't you know your chick get great jugs on her?
See, that's what I don't understand now. What's the big deal? They're just overgrown mammary glands.
Mammary glands? Mammary glands? No! We're talking tits here! Big tits, round tits, fleshy tits.
Seems like a lot of dumb development to me, I mean, women have to carry me.
Don't know what you're missing. That girl Shirley, I didn't even have to ask her. She just lifted her shirt and put my hand under it. And then she undoes her bra for me. And I start feeling the whole tit, nipple and all.
Ow.
She's poking her tongue down my
Ow.
throat. And then I'm reaching down with my hand.
Ow.
I'm working my way down, she's working.
That's your 53 forward back.
This moment had me in absolute pieces. It's just the delivery, like his whole idea of, obviously, this is what he thinks women want in life. It gives you a real insight into his character. Yeah, let's move on to the second clip, which is a real good piece of acting from Cage. This is a moment where he loses his shit.
Time's running out. I'm not giving up on you. I'm gonna get you to talk to me, even if I have to punch you out. I'm not kidding around, Birdy. I can't hold Weiss off anymore. I almost told him about the flying yesterday. God damn it, why can't you listen to me? If you want to fly, he'll let you fly. He's gonna send you air freight to some giant cage in a full-time nut house. So he'll probably send me too. We're gonna have feeding, purchase, cover the whole fucking deal. Maybe your mom will even dig up your old pigeon suit. And Weiss can sell you to a sideshow in Atlantic City. You can double bill and send me the fish. All right, Birdy. It's time to start flapping your wings and peeping. I don't believe it, you know. If you really want to spend the rest of your life as a bird, then at least be consistent. Look at you. You don't hop like a bird. You don't really sit like one. And you sure as hell can't fly like one. You don't like what I'm saying, Birdy. Why don't you just tell me to shut up? You always were hard to hurt, Birdy. Real losers never hurt. Oh, here you go. Here comes Hannah to feed you. You like that, don't you?
What are you doing now?
I'm gonna watch you feed him. It's fun watching him be fed. He's cute when he's fed.
Will you stop taunting him?
Look, he's reacting to me. He's giving me that pissed off look. You're pissed, aren't you?
Will you stop it? tried. It isn't working.
How do you know?
It's obvious, isn't it?
You fucked it up! Why'd you have to come in here?
Because I work here. He's part of my job.
Yeah? Well, he's part of my goddamn life.
This third and final one isn't so much funny or like profound. It is just the moment when Cage loses his face when he gets blown up. It's a real dramatic, like, Full Metal Jacket style scene of like shit blowing up, and you just get to hear him scream, basically. So that's it, guys. That's it for Cage Quotes. That's it for this episode of the Caged In podcast. I've been your host, Petros Patsilivus. Just want to say a quick thing of, obviously, as I always say in these podcasts, like, subscribe, and rate on iTunes. That would be great. If you don't subscribe to iTunes in any way, you don't like Apple products, you can always listen on Acast or Stitcher or on SoundCloud if you want to do it like that. But yeah, share with a friend. Like, if you think someone would be into this, let them know. Obviously get in touch. Like, I'd really like to hear from some of you guys, like any things you've noticed in these films that I might not have noticed, or whether you think the podcast is good or not. Like, I'm open for constructive criticism. Like, I must admit, like, I find it hard sometimes speaking in a room on my own. I think I've mentioned it in the last podcast. I'm really looking forward to episode 11 when I get to start having guests. That's going to be really fun. So again, the Facebook, Twitter and Instagram are all at CagedInPod. And the email is cagedinpod@gmail.com. Any of your Nicolas Cage DVDs, obviously there's Amnesty, get in touch and let me know if you'd like to donate any. I'm really looking forward to episodes I've got coming up. Next week is The Boy in Blue. Again, this is another one. I have no idea what it's about. All I know is it's got our main man Nicolas Cage in it. So guys, I just want to say thanks for listening. I've been your host, Petros Patsilivus. I've been caged in. You've been rad. Catch you later.
I really know what it feels like to fly.
You flew. How you flew?